how have we gotten to where we are, and why do we feel so confident that we're going back?
Well, first of all, let's give some major love to El Sambro. I think I don't have his name out in front of me. Rodrigo, you're the fucking man. First of all, loved your comments. Love the fact that you followed us on Twitter. It means a lot to us that you're reaching out on multiple platforms. But what you said was really amazing. If you think about what Sam Presti did before, you think about how he built this team before, man, he built this team to have 3 stars on it. He built this team in 2008, and 9 and 10 through the draft, through building the 3-star program. I look at what he did there in that first time is there was mistakes made. Okay. I mean, yes, he was a young man learning how to draft players and different things like that. And there was slight mistakes made that he made during the drafting process and different things like that. So looking back, and I say looking back, is you can directly correlate with not building the base strong enough in the beginning to why we weren't able to essentially pull a championship down and get a championship banner. And this is not a slight against Sam. This is not a slight against the Oklahoma City Thunder organization. I'm just calling it out the way it was. The base wasn't built strong enough, but he still got his 3 stars that he got, right? So that's what I go back to, is how he built that team and how this team is so similarly built is incredible. What is the strength of this team, though, compared to the other team, was this team has such a beautiful, amazing base done. You got your bench done. You got your defensive set. You got your coaches all set. They're all in sync. Like, your base is really set strong, right? And then you start looking through the group of guys and you start saying, do you have your 3 stars? And I say, hell yeah, we have our 3 stars, right? Not only do we have our 3 stars, but I think you could even argue that we have, 4 stars, possibly, maybe 5. Who knows? I have to say, though, with this group, as everybody's maturing and going, is that if we have even just 3 stars, okay, with the base that we built, with the guys that we have here, there's no reason why we won't be competing for a championship in 2 years. There's no reason why we're not going to be next year in that playoff hunt early on and often, and being a top 3 team next year. The way this team has gotten better, the way the base has been built, right, allows the 3 guys in our 3 stars, which I'm calling them now, to really flex their muscles. Now, if you go back in 2008, right, you had KD, Russ, right, and then you had Harden, you had Ibaka, okay, you had 2008, 2009, 2010, and then you got your 2012, right? You had that team was set, okay? You had your 4 guys right there, but then after that, it was weak. It was just weak. I mean, I know you had Adams in there, but it was just weak. There wasn't a lot of help after on the bench. But that's why I keep going back to this and getting excited, because this team, and we use the term dynasty, future dynasty that we're talking about, but, we just want to win 1 championship, and then we can talk about dynasties. But right, this base has been built so great that you look at it and you say, if they win a championship in the next 3 years, which I think is not only possible, but I think this team could do, right? Then we're not even peaking yet. We're not even peaking yet. Yeah. And we won a championship. And that's where I keep on going back to, if we are able to pull this off in the next 3 years, and that's the telling tale, then this team isn't going away anytime soon. We're not going to get rid of the players. We'll pay any luxury tax that we have to pay, because a dynasty brings in billions of dollars, whereas a team that makes the playoffs a couple of times is going to bring only a couple $100 million. Billions versus a couple hundred. That's how we keep this team together. Yeah, that's how this team is staying together, is by new TV contracts, by new this, by new that, selling out jerseys. I mean, think about it, guys. If this team is making close to $1 billion in profit and sales and everything else like that, there's no way this team is ever, first of all, leaving Oklahoma. Second of all, we're never getting rid of any of the players, because that's what the presidents and the ownerships and everybody that's designed here, like, they want to bring Oklahoma City into that conversation as greatest of all time basketball team. And that's where we have to look at this team. Like think about this, guys. Everybody was telling that you that this team was only going to win 21 games this year, 19 games this year, 18 games this year. That's what the predictions were saying. We're at 28 wins. If we win 10 more wins, guys, just 10, we've won 38 wins this year. How many people in the Oklahoma City Thunder media, how many people in the ESPN media, how many podcasts in the Oklahoma City Thunder community told you that we had a chance to win 38 wins? Zero, except us. Why? Because we know what this team is. We see what this team is. So for us to come out and say, hey, we think there's a possibility that this team could be a dynasty, it's not crazy.
Yeah. We like to say, a great team is more than a sum of its parts. And we're seeing this team become so much more than that. And I watched this really good YouTube video by Royce, his channel Thunder XP. It's pretty great. And it came out yesterday or today. And it's just like talking about the offensive flow and the movement and basically just having the ball move freely from side to side and it sounds more like playing jazz than it does, an offensive system. But one of the elements that I really dig about it is when you think about plugging a guy like Chet in, you don't get worried about, how are we going to get shots for him? Like, they're going to come freely the same way that we saw Moose get free shots, the same way we saw Saric get free shots. Like, as a part of the offensive system, like, whoever wants to shoot the ball within the flow of the system has those shots. Now, it needs to play to their strength, but that's the difference between a coach calling the plays from the sideline, right?
Yeah, and again, guys, it's not going to be uncommon for Shai to get 40 points off of 15 shots. All right, I know, it sounds crazy. It's not going to be uncommon for that, all right? Because of the way Shai gets to the hole and gets fouled, it's going to be able to create more shots for everybody else. If you look at Chet in the corner, if you look at Chet going for alley-oops, you look at, listen, JDub, it doesn't matter. All of our starters are going to have opportunities to shoot the ball 15 times if they want. Mm-hmm. It's just because of the way we run, the way we hustle, the way we go. We shoot the ball, and it's not uncommon for us to shoot the ball 90, 100 times in a game. Mm-hmm. It's nothing. So for us to say that our starters are going to go out there and dominate the ball by shooting 60, 70, 80 shots, come on, that's nothing. Especially when we get to the bench and we start playing these guys that are on the bench, it's going to be flowing within the system because the bench guys are typically never out there without a starter or two on the floor with them. So it's about going to the strengths of the starters on the floor. And man, I get excited about it. I get really pumped up about how you talk about offensive schemes, but I'll sit here and talk about defense, guys, because the defense is what makes me so excited about this team is the defensive scheme that we're playing this zone that we never get called for a 3-second defensive technical foul. I mean, think about that. We're in the NBA, and I think twice or three times I've seen this season we get technical defensive lane violations. Think about that, guys. We play a fucking zone, and we barely get called for technicals. Barely, okay? On top of that, we're up and down the court. There's a turnover. We got 3 guys down before anybody else is down. There's a block shot, same thing. There's a charge. We have so many ways to stop the ball. And one of the greatest weaknesses that we have right now is I don't necessarily call it a weakness right now, but if you look at the stats, it hurts us is the offensive rebounds that we allow, right? We also allow points by the big man. These are the things that are going to stop when you insert Chet here.
Right.
Insert Chet here. 16 defensive rebounds, 6 blocks. That's what Chet's going to be doing. And I look back at the stats and I kind of wanted to get an idea of how much Chet is going to impact this game, in my opinion. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right. And I had to go back to, I don't know, it was like the 90s, David Robinson, the last quadruple double in the NBA. Okay. And I started thinking about that. That's Chet, guys. Let's just put it out there. Chet is a walking quadruple double. And anybody that understands his game and understands how good he is, that's what he's going to do for this team. There's going to be multiple times that he gets 10 or more blocks in a game. So you're telling me that if he gets 10 or more blocks, that he's not going to get 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and 10 points? I mean, come on. It's the way he passes the ball, the way he understands the game. Chet is so next level, guys. We don't even know how good he's going to be out there with this team. So we can sit here and say, these guys are 3 stars, but we don't give a lot of credit to Chet because he's not gelling with the team right now. But the reality is, Chet could be better than anybody on this team.
Yeah. I mean, he's got that potential and the offense has that space, the way that we've seen other people like, Moose fit in, and then now you're coming to this point where I'm wondering, a lot of people are wondering, how will both JRE and J Will fit in? How are we going to be able to keep Trey Mann and
exciting.
Aaron Wiggins? How does this move forward? Because it seems like so many players are stepping up. Some players aren't necessarily on the same timeline. The players that last year were really impressing aren't the players that are doing the same things this year,
or injury
otherwise. But I'm just saying, like,
or people
how
like
is it
Poku
going to
are
work
stepping
out?
up.
Are some of these players going to get squeezed out as new players come in, or are they going to find a way to, maybe only take one first-round pick, one second-round pick, and an undrafted player each year to kind of make sure each player has at least 3 years, to maximize their potential?
I think with Sam Presti, I'll be honest with you, is looking 2 years in advance for every single player. I think when you're looking at each individual player, I think he's looking at 2 years in advance. Is this player going to be here in 2 years? If not, I need to draft another player to replace him. So when you're looking at this next year's draft, I think it's a clear indication that Sam Presti has, he's holding either fast, or he has one player that he's question mark if he's going to be on that team in a year or so. That's it. To me, the draft will indicate exactly who's leaving and who's not for the future. And that to me is great, because if we're bringing in guys and we're saying, okay, you this year are going to be a project player. So in order for you to come and play on our team, we'll take you in the first round. But in order for you to be on our team, you have to be willing to go to the G League for a year, because we don't have a spot for you, But if you're willing to go to the G League for a year, we'll pay you and you can go to the G League. Right? This is what we have to design for the future. And I understand that this doesn't make sense for a lot of people, but the reality is that look at Jang, right? Mm-hmm. It's a perfect example of what I think the future holds for this team, is that if you want to come on this team, yes, we want players like JDub that are going to step on this court and make an impact immediately, or Josh Giddey immediately, right? But we're not always going to have those opportunities. And that's why I think we brought in the assistant GM now for...
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
I know,
Our recent listener told
76ers.
us.
Yeah, even the listener told us last time. Shameful, Dave. Shameful. But that's why we brought him in, to help us understand which players are worth taking the dice roll for a project and which players aren't, because there's always going to be players in that mid, 15 to 24, 25 range that are always going to be able to play right away. And it's good to see which players are ready to play right away and which one's going to take time, because again, it's exactly what Sam Presti needs for the exact moment. And understanding that is whether or not this player's going or staying. And right now, I think it's, all signs lead and indicate that this team is staying pat as is. Maybe one player in the next year or so won't be on this team, but that's it, man. And I love it. And I love it because Sam Presti, fuckers, listen up. Sam Presti has doubled down. He has doubled down on this team, bro.
What I think about, and I'm wrong because I'm just making shit up right now, but Sam Presti's probably decided that he wants to pick, somewhere in the, maybe top 10 all the way through like 12 or 13. But anything from like the 15 through the end of the first round is almost like, it just doesn't work. Now, I'm not saying Poku didn't, turn out okay, but like you look at some of these guys and you're paying more money for them. There's more pressure, right? If they kind of focus on getting the picks that we saw, like with JDub around 12, and where Shai was drafted anyway, and then you kind of look all the way to the second round and look at the value we're getting at the second round, like that split to me makes a lot of sense. Like you can't always get those top 3 picks, but if you can make a lot of value out of those, pick range 12 and second round picks, you can win a championship. Kind of look at what the Miami Heat have been able to build.
And look at, you're right. You got Kawhi,
where did he go? I forget.
San Antonio, I don't know, in that range that you were talking. You've got Giannis. You've got Joker. Listen, guys, those guys aren't going to slip past Sam Presti now. They're just not anymore. Like, those guys are going to be able to say, those guys are a year away from contributing, yes, but we'll go ahead and take that player. you know?
Yeah, Kawhi was at 15.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is that, like, there's so many guys in that range right there that Sam Presti can focus on and really hyper focus on, because to me, it's not about that top 3 or top 5 picks. And I'm sure in these draft picks that we have coming back, we're going to have a few of those where they're the top 10, picks in the draft,
Right.
But majority of them are going to be ending up in that, like you said, like 11 through 17. And then we have enough capital to be able to go from 17 up, and move up in the draft. So I agree with you, man. Like, this is going to be really interesting how the Thunder continue to build this team. But if we're picking up players like Giannis and Kawhi on this team in those 15 ranges, like bro, like, we don't need top 3 picks for this team to continue to win. We just need guys that start contributing within the first year of them being drafted. I mean, think about if we drafted the next Kawhi or the next Giannis on this team with the team that's already been built. What are we talking? I mean, are we talking about, again, we're talking about a generational team.
Right.
Not even a generational, a once in an NBA lifetime team. Because if you're able to continue to, distribute the wealth of sorts, keep on drafting these players, and then you're letting, guys like Bazley walk to the place that he wants to go. And because we have J. Will that's been stepping up, and it's like, we want to see J. Will more instead of Bazley. So, hey, let's get Bazley to a place he wants to go.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Spurs in the 2000s, bro.
Yeah. And not just that. I mean, think about the Spurs to the 2000s that they continuously drafted. They got David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Kawhi. I mean, they got all these guys that are able to contribute right away and do these great things. And, that was great. That was an amazing time. But you look at teams that drafted properly, that's drafted a team like this. We're talking about, we have to go back to the Celtics and Bill Russell years, bro. I mean, think about this, guys.
Mikhail Parrish, Bird.
It's the Celtics. That's the thing about this. The way that this team is built and the way that we have so many draft picks that could, just 2 or 3 of them just turned out. That's it. Turned out to be great players. It's over. Like, we're talking, it's over. Like, how many championships can this team win? And, to me, I understand. Here we go, talking about championships. How many you
think we can win?
How many I think we can win?
Yeah, dude.
Bro, I believe in Sam Presti. I 100% believe in Sam Presti. In the next 20 years, I think we can win 7 in 20. And that means that Sam Presti, I want you guys to understand this. That means Sam Presti is going to find a way to transition this team, right, into the next team and still win championships. That's how much I believe in him.
All right. There you go, guys. Chew on that. Tell us what you think. We love you, and we will see you soon. Thunder up.